Okay. Hi Vienna users. In today's session, we are going to cover how to create the tenant into the Vienna Advantage software. To generate the tenant, we need to log in into the system client, and using that system client, we will be able to create the initial tenant setup. So the first step is to log in with the system client, search for the initial tenant setup process, run the initial tenant setup process, input the necessary information, save the credentials of the newly generated client, and later on by using the admin role, we would be able to make the further activities into the newly created client. So let's move on and we'll see how we can generate the new tenant into the Vienna Advantage. Okay. Here is my screen. You need to enter your super user credentials here, log in into the software, clicking on login, and you would be able to see in the screen that there is an initial tenant setup, or you can search the initial tenant setup from the search utility. So here is the initial tenant setup. So as I have mentioned that the desired or the required details needs to be entered here. Let's suppose I am creating an organization called corporation. So ABC headquarters, client is ABC admin, ABC users. So these are going to be later on the users within the system and also the roles within the system. Now this ABC corporation belongs to which particular country? So I'm selecting here as United States, entered my region as New York, city name as New York and region as NY. Now apart from that, there are certain optional checkbox. So here there are two important checkbox that you need not to uncheck. While rest, if you want to check, then these becomes the counting dimensions into the Vienna Advantage softwares. If you don't want to check on these now, later on we can update this using the counting schema method. Now once entered everything here at this moment of time, you just need to say done. And as a result of this, at the background, what the system will do, system will generate the new tenant, one of the legal entity, counting schema, but the counting schema doesn't contain the details of the chart of account. Okay, since there are certain default accounts to be entered, and these default accounts will not be available with the accounting schema, because into the Vienna Advantage, while creating the initial tenant, the system is not asking for the chart of account files. So now you can see as a result of this initial tenant generation, onto the right side you would be able to see all the details. If you want to save this, you would be able to save it as a notepad file. Later on we can utilize this, and in this notepad file you would be able to see your tenant detail, organization name, admin role, the admin user, and this becomes the user for us, and the password. So what we will say, we'll copy this and thereafter we'll move back to our software and we'll log it out. So once we log out, we'll say ABC, or we'll copy or paste ABC admin, and we'll try to log in. We'll try to log in, and the system will ask you to give some other name for the ABC admin. So I will give ABC admin at the rate 1, ABC admin at the rate 1, and now I will log in into the system. So as I mentioned that there are various components get generated at the background, so you would be able to see it is going to be the organization. So there is a legal entity that we gave as ABCHQ. It is coming here. Thereafter, you would be able to see the role is getting generated by the process. So all the roles you would be able to see at this particular place, and along with that, there is a default business partner. There's users gets generated by the system as a result of this process. So in this way, we would be able to generate the new tenant. Always keep in mind you need not to open the window of tenant in a certain login tenant, and thereafter you will just click on new record and you will generate the tenant. Thanks a lot in this video. Bye bye.
Welcome back, Vienna users. In today's session, we are going to cover the organization. How to create the organization is first and the initial steps after the tenant generation. In our last video, we have gone through how to create the tenant. Under the tenant, you would be able to by default see the organization, the information we have entered while creating the tenant. Now the question is how we can set up the organization into the Vienna Advantage ERP. Now we have all the login into the last time we created the tenant called ABC admin. Now we will log in into the ABC tenant and thereafter we'll generate the organizations, as there are many organizations that can be a legal entity and a non-legal entity. So before we'll move on to the system, let's go through a little definition about the organization. So in our today's session, we are going to see what are basically the organization. So there are two kinds of organization that you can create into the Vienna Advantage. One is basically the legal entities, while the others are the non-legal entities. A legal entity is a distinct and a recognized organization in the eye of the law, or you can say they have the responsibility to pay the taxes to the government based on their revenue generation. And they have the ability to enter into the contracts, owns the property, and sue or be sued in a court of law. Those are basically known as legal entities. While the non-legal entities refers to an entity that doesn't have the legal recognition and is not considered a distinct entity under the law. So enough chit chat, let's move on to the system and we'll generate the legal entities and the non-legal entities at the Vienna Advantage ERP system. You need to log in into the system. So I have there and I have already entered my credentials. So we are logged in into the system with ABC admin that contains the administrative rights. As a tenant preparation, by default, there are two roles gets generated by the tenant process. The first one is the administrator role. The another one is the user role. Now, using the administrator credentials, we are logged in into the system and thereafter we'll generate the legal and the non-legal entities into the Vienna Advantage ERP. So let's log in. You can see the landing page. We will discuss in another video about the landing page. Into the landing page, there are many of the components that we need to understand if you want to run the Vienna Advantage ERP. So we'll create another video on this and that would be helpful for all the Vienna users. Now, we need to search the organization window. So here I do have the organization window. Into the organization window, you would be able to see a default legal entity which got generated as a result of the tenant process. So you would be able to see that organization. Now we'll need to move on into the organization info tab, and at the level of the organization info tab, we just need to enter the entire address of the organization. We need to select the default warehouse for the organization. Thereafter, you need to select the supervisor of the organization. For these supervisors, the warehouse, so these are again the master windows into the system. So those needs to be prepared first and thereafter you will be able to link all these. So if there is any registration number of the organization, for legal entities there would be, you need to enter the registration number. So let's say I will enter ABC, that is just a random number I'm entering, but you just need to enter your text number ID. Okay. Then the organization type, whether it is a store, it is a cost center, it is a division, or it is a legal entity, you would be able to zoom and able to create the organization type. So if I will say whether it is a legal entity, so I will say legal entity can be one of my organization type. So come here, click onto the refresh icon and you would be able to see your legal entity. So it is a legal entity for me. There is no parent organization for this. Then the warehouse, if you want to rename it the warehouse, you would be able to do so. So come here and I will say ABCHQ warehouse. So I would be able to make the changes. So this warehouse also gets generated as a result of the Tenant process. Okay, and thereafter under this warehouse you need to prepare some locators. So later on we'll update this, and into the another video we'll create some warehouses, we'll create some locators as well. For now we'll focus on to the organization creation. Okay, so now if you have any mailing address, you would be able to enter your mailing address. There might be a possibility the mailing address and the address remain same. In case these remain same, so better it would be recommended to enter both the addresses, because there are certain print formats where these addresses would be utilized. Do not leave it. Enter the DUNS number, that generally Dun Street number, and would be utilized basically into the region of the America. If you do not have, keep it empty, as this is one of the mandatory field. So I have entered, by default the system entered the question mark. You might enter something else. You might enter something else like dot or maybe a space. That would be sufficient enough. Now the tax ID here, you can see the first is the registration number, the another one is the tax ID. You need to enter your tax ID number here. If you do not have the tax ID or the registration number and the tax ID is same, then it is recommended to enter the same number here. As I have already mentioned that there are going to be print formats or the reports where we are using all this stuff. Okay. Now the supervisor of this, if there is any supervisor for this organization, since the supervisor is mandatory, because while executing the workflow, the supervisor will be used. There is a setup into the workflow, and those workflow sends the notification to the supervisor. Now, if this organization has a certain set of accounting rules that you want to specifically execute, then you will select the accounting book. Or if this has a different set of financial year or the fiscal year, then you need to select that fiscal year. There might be a possibility you have a generic fiscal year and the generic accounting book. In such a case, it is recommended not to link the accounting book and the calendar, since it is common for all. In case if your organizations are into the various region of the world, let's say one of the organization is into the US region, while the other organization into the Asia region, that is the India. In such a case, the fiscal year is going to be in India 1st of April till 31st of March, while in US it can vary. It can be from 1st of January to 31st of December, or it might be from 1st of July till 30th of July. So that is basically the differences. In such a cases, it would be recommended to keep the accounting book different. You keep your fiscal year different. So you just need to enter all these details here in such cases. Otherwise, there is no need. Okay, thereafter you can enter your phone number, you can enter your fax, you can enter your email address, you can enter your tax rules. There is a certain different set of tax rules structuring into the Vienna Advantage, where when you create a sales order or a purchase order or an invoice, the system picks up the taxes based on to the combinations defined within the system. So it is recommended, if you want to apply those rules, however you would be able to select the rule at the level of the transaction. If you would be able to do so, then it would be better to select the tax rate while creating the transaction. If you want that it would be easier for the users, then there is a certain tax rule settings needs to be made into the system, and once these settings would be there, then you just need to bind this tax rules for a certain organization at this particular place. Upload the logo of your organization. Enter a certain description that you want to print or you wish to print into the print formats. Then enter certain description about the organization. So in such a way, you would be able to define. You cannot enter n number of addresses or the organization info at this particular level, since my new button is disabled. Thereafter, there is a translations, that is for the language translation. The organization assignment would be there. So right now all these are not functional. Only the thing that is functional is basically the organization translations, since it is required at the time of language. So once it is saved, your organization, the legal entity is created. Similarly, if you want to create a non-legal entity, then you just need to open the organization unit. There is a window called organization unit, and these organization unit, are basically the cost centers and the work centers. If you want to create your, sales department as your profit centers, then I would be able to enter, let's say, sales profit center, or whatever the name would be there. So I would be able to write it up here. You can enter the code here into the search key. Okay. Now this will ask you under which legal entity it belongs to. So I do have a single legal entity, so I can select the legal entity as AVCHQ. Thereafter, you need to mark whether it is a cost center or a profit center. So it's a profit center for me. So let's save this record. And thereafter, we just need to enter the organization unit details. So here at the level of the organization unit details, I would be able to enter it out. Right now, the new record is disabled because we just updated the default organization addresses or the info. So what we need to do, we just need to log out. We need to log in. So let's say cashier set, close, and reopen the organization unit. Now you can move on to the organization unit, and you just need to enter your address. So you would be able to enter your address. So I would say office number 111, New York is the New York. So I will say this as address. There is a supervisor for the sales department, so you can place the supervisor, the organization, the email, and the other details can be entered at this particular organization unit. So once it is done, save the record, and in such a way I can create a number of cost centers and number of profit centers which later can be used while generating the transactions. So that is how we can create the legal and the non-legal entities. Apart from that, there is one more thing is there, that is at the level of the organization, you would be able to create the non-legal entities at this particular place. So if you want to create a non-legal entity, you need not to mark this legal entity. However, you just need to enter the details of the non-legal entity, select your legal organization. Now what's basically the difference between both organization unit and at the level of the organization when you are preparing a non-legal entity at the organization level? When you prepare a non-legal entity at the level of the organization, you need to do all the transactions in this particular organization, and later on there is an impact onto the reporting that you need to pull the report in a different manner. While onto the organization unit, you need to select the organization unit at the level of the transaction. All your transaction would be always processed in the legal entities. So that is what the difference is. And this is the feasibility and the beauty of the system, where you would be able to define in a different way the non-legal entities. That is the legal entities and the non-legal entities preparation into the Vienna Advantage, and also that known as organization into the Vienna Advantage ERP. I hope you guys learned how to create organization into the Vienna Advantage ERP. For now, bye-bye, and we'll see you into the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Hello Vienna users, welcome back once again. In the last session, we have gone through how to create the legal and the non-legal entities into the system. As I have mentioned previously, that there are going to be various master that needs to be set it up into the system before running the business scenarios into the system, like the sales order, the shipment or the delivery orders or the invoices. So all these masters are must required, and we should learn about how these would be generated with the system. So in today's session, we are going to cover the payment term. So let's go through with the definition of the payment term first. So in this session, we are going to learn how to create the payment terms. Now what's basically the payment terms are? These are the payment terms refer to the condition under which a buyer is expected to pay for goods or services purchased from a seller. These terms are typically agreed upon in advance between the buyer and seller and specify the amount due, the due date, and any applicable discounts or penalties for late payment. Some common payment terms includes net 30 days. It means the payment is due 30 days after the invoice date. Cash on delivery. The payment is due at the time of delivery or receipts of goods. Payment in advance. That is, payment is required before goods or services are delivered or provided. The specific payment terms agreed upon will depend on to the nature of the transaction, the relationship between the buyer and seller, and other factors such as industry norms and regulations. By establishing clear payment terms, both parties can avoid misunderstanding or disputes related to payment and ensure a smooth and timely transaction. So that is basically the payment term. Now we'll go through into the system. We'll see how the payment term used to be generated into the Vienna Advantage ERP system. So lots of theoretical communication now. Let's move on to the system, and in our ABC tenant we are going to generate few payment terms. So let's move on. So I'm at the login area and I'm logging through ABC admin. Let's click onto the login and we'll move on to the landing page. And here at the landing page, what we need to do, we just need to open the payment term window by using the search utility available at the menu. So here is the payment term. One of the default payment term gets generated by the system during the tenant creation, that is the immediate payment term. While if you want to create, let's say, net 30 days, you would be able to generate those. So let's say I want to generate net 30 days. So we'll say net 30 days. Okay, any document note that you wish that it should print along with the payment term at the level of the sales order print formats or the purchase order print formats, then you would write the document notes, a little description about the payment term if required. Thereafter, we just need to define how many days, net days it is. It is 30 days. So we just mention here 30 days. And let's suppose if the customer pays you before the time, let's say my payment term is net 30 days, but my customer pays against the invoice within 10 days, then if you want to give a certain payment discount or not, so that can be covered into the system. You can define the discount days, that in next 10 days if it is paid, then there is going to be discount. Let's say my discount is for 10 days applicable and I will give further 2% discount. So I would be able to set up all these things. Thereafter, if there is a certain grace days, that means if the payment is overdue to the customer and the payment haven't received from the customer, in that case, if you want to provide a certain grace days, or maybe later on, if during the dunning process, if you want to charge something since the dues are overdue to the customer, so you would be able to do so using the running module into the Vienna Advantage system. So that is how we can generate a payment term. If I want to generate a certain advance payment term, so I would be able to generate that, and I can mark advance checkbox in such a case. Now there are certain payment terms where you wanted, like there is some payment they will pay in advance, while some payment they have to pay once they have received the invoice. So that feasibility is available into the VA system. You would be able to generate such a kind of payment terms. Let's say 50% advance and 50% after invoice delivery. So I would be able to generate that. So I will say 50-50 is my payment term. I will say 50% advance and 50% after invoice. So if I want to generate such a kind of payment terms, I would be able to generate such a kind of payment terms. But in such a cases, I need to define the schedules. So I will move on to the schedule after saving the payment term, and I will say new record. And here I need to define my percentage and the net days. So my first is advance. So I will say advance, and my percentage is going to be 0. and net days is going to be, my percentage is going to be 50, and my net day is going to be in such a case is 0. So that is the first schedule. Now I need to generate the another schedule, that is I want rest 50% payment, and it should be, let's suppose, after 30 days or after invoicing. So if you, or you can say let's after 30 days, so it would be after 30 days. If you want to define a certain discount for this schedule, you would be able to define so, and you will say save. Okay, so that's the payment term, and you would be able to generate such a kind of payment terms. Let's say it is not invoice after 30 days, let's say. So that is now absolutely correct. So I would be able to define so. So that is how we used to generate the payment terms into the Vienna Advantage system. I hope you learned this, how to create the payment terms into the Vienna Advantage ERP system, and you would be able to configure by watching this particular video. Into the next video we are going to cover the payment methods and the other masters. Till then, thanks a lot. Bye bye. Welcome back, Vienna user. In today's session we are going to cover how to generate the payment methods into the Vienna Advantage ERP. Before we'll move into the system and generate the payment method, we'll go through first what's basically the payment methods are. Let's move on. A payment method is a way that the customer uses to pay for goods or services purchased from the business. The common payment methods are basically cash, checks, demand drafts, credit and debit cards, bank transfer, electronic transfers, so on. So there are many types of payment methods nowadays available. So these payment methods can be configured within the VA system. Let's move on to the system and see how we can configure the payment methods, various payment methods into the system. So let's move on into the system. So I'm at my login screen. Let's move on with the ABC admin and our tenant. And into the tenant we just need to generate the payment methods. To generate the payment methods, you need to search the payment method window using the menu search utility. So let's search menu. We need to search the payment method. Okay, so here is the payment method window. Let's click toggle, and here is the payment method window where we need to define the payment methods. So to define the payment methods into the system, we need to click onto the new record, and afterwards we need to give the search key, the name of the payment methods, and then we need to select the payment base type. So let's say I want to generate it as check. Okay, so I want to generate the check payment method. So here the most important thing is the payment base type. So here the various payment base type which identifies basically which kind of payment method you are generating. So here the check represents the check. The payment method has a crucial role somewhere into the VA system further when you are doing the transactions of the payments, since there is a form available into the system that utilizes that which payment method, or based on that which payment method another payment has to be made, or you want to override the payment methods at the time of the payment. So everything covered at that particular level. So it is very important to configure the payment methods properly while defining the payment methods into the system, as this is one of the crucial steps. So let's move on. So our payment base type, as I have mentioned, is very mandatory and then very important. So here if you can see, as soon as you select this, your payment mode would be picked by the system, that is basically the bank. Thereafter your payment rule is whether it is manual or it is EFT. So it is a manual payment method, and thereafter we need to select whether you want to process the checks basically with the batch or the single. So I'm selecting here single. You can create a batch checks, so that can be processed as well, and then the payment should be triggered by the recipients or by the senders. So let's say the payment would be pulled by recipient, and there is a currency. If you want to generate the payment method for a specific currency, then that particular payment method will be visible only when that particular transaction in that particular currency. Let's say if I want to generate an invoice and I have defined a payment method called check and I have linked my currency as USD, then this particular payment method will be available at the level of the AR invoice only when the AR invoice transaction currency is USD. So I will recommend to leave it, do not select anything at this particular place, and then this payment method is always available at every place. Okay. Similarly, if you want to create the wire transfer, you would be able to do so. If you want to generate the direct debit, direct deposit, the credit card payments, you would be able to do so. It's pretty simple. So from today's session, I hope you would be able to understand how we can create the payment methods into the system. So we can create the payment methods, various payment methods into the VA system at the payment method screen, and it's pretty simple. I have already explained all the fields. I hope that helps you. Till then, ciao.
Welcome back, guys. In today's session, we are going to learn how to create a warehouse and locators into the Vienna Advantage system. So what basically the warehouse? The warehouse are basically the big buildings, big and empty buildings, and designed in a way where you can store maximum number of products. So let's move on and see what's basically the warehouse. So warehouse is a large commercial building or a space used for the storage of goods and materials, typically for industrial or commercial purpose. It is designated to accommodate the movement and storage of large quantities of goods, often in pallets or containers, and may be equipped with specialized equipments such as forklifts, conveyor belts, and loading dock to facilitate the handling of these items. Warehouses are used by manufacturers, wholesalers, retailers, and other businesses that require space for the storage or distribution of their products. So these are basically the warehouse, and under the warehouse there are many locators. You would be able to see many locators under a warehouse if you visit a physical warehouse. What is basically the locators are? A locator refers to a specific location within a warehouse where goods or products are stored. A locator can be a bin, shelf, pallet rack, or any other designated storage space where items are kept. The purpose of using locator is to make it easier to find and retrieve specific items from a warehouse. Each item is assigned a unique locator code or identifier, which is used to track its location within the warehouse. This allows warehouse staff to quickly locate and retrieve items when they are needed, reducing the time and effort required to fulfill orders or manage inventory. Using a locator system can also help to optimize warehouse space utilization and improve inventory accuracy. By organizing products into a specific locator, it becomes easier to keep track of how much inventory is on hand, where it is located, when it needs to be replenished or moved to a different location. So these are basically the locators. Let's move on to the VA system and we'll try to create one warehouse and locators. So I'm at my login screen. Let's log in and search the warehouse window using the menu search utility. Okay. So we'll search warehouse and locators, and you can see there is a default locator gets generated automatically as a result of Tenant generation process. And here, if you want to create a new warehouse, then you need to click here, warehouse. So I will give the name as HQ warehouse 2. I'll copy and save. You need to define the address since there might be a possibility that the location of the warehouse is different. So I can say India, and it is going to be
this. And you need to define if there is a certain source warehouse, then you would be able to define a source warehouse. If you want to define any requisition fulfillment rules, then you would be able to define. If you don't want to allow that the negative inventory is allowed within the system while processing the transaction, then mark disallow negative inventory. If this warehouse allows for the blanket orders or not, the warehouse is responsible for the drop shipments or not, then you need to mark all these checkbox. Otherwise, you just need to save. But the important thing is you just always need to define a legal entity here. Okay. So you just need to save and move on to the locator. And here you would be able to import a number of locators, or you would be able to define the locators manually. So let's say locator 1. I would say locator 1. And what's going to be the aisle, bay, row? So I would say presently 0, 0, 0. And we just need to checkbox. We need to check on a default checkbox. So under each warehouse, minimum one locator is marked as default. So in such a way, I would be able to define now n number of locators. L2 is going to be 1, 1, 1. And I would say the next tab of the storage is a read-only tab. It is system maintained and gets updated when you do the transaction into the system. There is certain container storage detail would be there. That is again a read-only tab and gets updated by the system based on the settings. And at the end, if you want to define your replenishment rule for the certain products for this warehouse, then you would be able to define your replenishment rules. So there are going to be two replenishment rules, that is reorder below minimum level and maintain maximum level. We'll cover this into the next session somewhere about how to replenish products and we'll generate a separate video since there is going to be replenishment report. There are certain other transactions to be generated. Presently we are only covering the masters so that later on when we will create the business use cases into the system, then we will showcase you this replenishment step as well. In this video so far is about the warehouse and the locator generations. I hope after going through with this video, you would be able to configure your warehouse and locators into the VA system, and you are able to generate these without any problem. Thanks for now. We'll see you into the another video where with some other masters we'll cover. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Welcome back, guys. In today's session, we are going to cover the unit of measurement. What's basically the unit of measurement? How we can create a unit of measurement into the VA system. So we'll cover in this particular video. So unit of measurement is nothing but it is just a symbol to quantify the quantity of the product. Okay, so let's move on to the formal definition of unit of measurement. So UOM stands for unit of measurement and refers to a standardized unit used to quantify and measure a specific quantity of the product or material. UM is used to describe the quantity or volume of items in a consistent and accurate manner and is essential for managing inventory and supply chain operations. Some common unit of measurement used in business include pieces or units. This refers to individual items or products. Dozen, a group of 12 products. Gallon, a unit of volume for liquids, typically used to measure liquids like milk or gasoline. The specific UOM used will be dependent on the nature of the product or material being measured and the industry in which it is used. By standardizing units of measure, business can ensure accurate and efficient inventory management, pricing, and ordering process. This is called unit of measurement. Enough chit chat, let's move on to the system and we'll see how we can create the unit of measurement. So I'm at my login screen, that is the ABC admin I'm logging into, and we'll create the unit of measurement into the VA system. So let's log in. So when you log in into the system, you need to search the unit of measurement window using the search utility available into the menu. So you would be able to figure out the unit of measure window. Click onto the unit of measure window, and there are some default unit of measurements are already provided into the VA system. The one which you are looking forward and is not available into the system, then you would be able to create a new unit of measurement. So I want to create a dozen, so dozen is not available here, so we'll create one of the unit called dozen. Let's say new record. So for dozen I will say dz my code, dz my symbol, and dozen is going to be my name. The precision you need to define, so by default the precision I'm defining is 2. Costing precision is not in use presently, so if you will not define the costing precision, there is no harm in it. So save the record, and in such a way the unit of measurement generated into the system. Onto the other side, if you can see, there are certain conversions you would be able to define based on a certain product. So I would be able to define my conversions. Let's suppose from each to dozen I need to define a certain conversion, so I would be able to define. So let's see each. So here is the each, and I want to define the conversion. You would be able to see the tenant is marked here as system, and I want to define the conversion. I would be able to define the conversion in my tenant, that is basically ABC admin. I can define, by default it is always recommended to define in star organization so that it would apply to all the organization if you have more than one organization. So if I want to define, then I will select dozen, not day, but it is going to be dozen. I can define for which product I'm defining, so I just need to select a certain product that contains the unit as each. So at the moment I do not have, but I have only a single product. I can click here and I will define my multiply rate is 12, and the other divide rate would be calculated by the system, and I would be able to save the conversions. So in such a way we would be able to define the unit of measurement conversions, and these conversions would be utilized when you are entering the purchase order, sales order, or sales invoice. So these conversions comes into the picture, and as a result of these conversions the system allows you to generate the purchase order. Instead of each, you would be able to generate it into the dozens as dozens. So that's basically the unit of measurement preparation into the VA system. I hope you understand how to configure the unit of measurement in Vienna Advantage system. Thank you. Bye-bye. Welcome back, guys. In today's session, we are going to cover our import chart of account. Last video, we figure out there is a problem in terms of Microsoft Access database that wasn't installed at my server. I have installed that, and let's go ahead directly into the system and we'll try to import the Excel file. Okay, so I'm at my login screen now. After login, open the COA and financial reform. We already created the tree last time, so we need not to create the tree. If the tree is not there, you just need to click on this plus icon and you need to add the tree. Now click on this, select your tree, select your chart of account file that is available in your installation directory. So I do have this, say OK and OK. So you will get the message that this process is running at the server side and takes the time depending upon the upload size, and pop up message when it comes, when it is completed. So once the process finishes rule, thereafter you would be able to see the entire chart of account onto the live left screen. So you can see now it is imported successfully. We'll close this and we'll refresh, and onto the left side you would be able to see your entire chart of account. So you would be able to see your assets, liabilities, equities, revenue, expenses, and there are certain memo accounts and the clearing accounts that are required within the system. These clearing accounts are utilized by during the beginning balances, so there are certain clearing account we just need to create into the system. So that is how you would be able to import your chart of account. And onto the right side there is some grouping of the ledger codes that can be utilized later on when we'll go through with the financial report form. So that is how we can import the chart of account. That's all in this video. In the next video we'll showcase you something else. Till then, bye bye, ciao. Welcome back, VA user. In today's session, we are going to see and learn how to import the chart of account into the Vienna Advantage system. Okay. Now, what's basically the chart of account? So these are the ledger codes, or a chart of account is a structured list of all the individual accounts that an organization uses to record financial transactions and classify them into the specific categories. It serves as a foundational component of the financial accounting system and provides a framework for organizing, classifying, and summarizing financial information. The chart of account typically includes various types of accounts such as assets, liabilities, equities, revenue, expenses. Apart from these, there is one more account type would be available in the VA system known as memo accounting, that is used for the management reporting. Each account is assigned a unique identifier or account code which helps in easily identifying and categorizing transactions. So these unique identifiers or account codes are basically the ledger codes into the VA system. So let's move on to the VA system and we'll see how to import the chart of account. Presently, I'm at my login screen. So we'll log in with the ABC admin and then we'll try to import the chart of account. To import the chart of account, first of all, we require the chart of account in an Excel format. The VA used to provide the template of the chart of account into the installation directory. Let me showcase you. So if you would be able to see, this is the installation directory where you would be able to see the chart of account file, that is accountingus1.csv. If I will open this file, you would be able to see the structure. Okay, so it contains all the ledger codes, the name, the description, the account type, and there are some other important details associated to the chart of account in that. Whether it is a summary level, when I will say it is a summary level, it means a certain folder would come under that folder. The system used to showcase all the ledger codes that we will see once we will import the chart of account. So in this format, we require the chart of account, and once the chart of account is available, then we'll close this and move back to our link. So once the template is ready, then what we need to do is we just need to open the COA and the financial report form. You would be able to see the import chart of account. We will not recommend to use that particular process. That is going to be obsolete into the upcoming release. So we'll recommend you to use COA and the financial group. Click onto this and you would be able to see your financial group form. So you would be able to see there is nothing is there, so we need to define the tree. So I will say ABC COA and say OK. As a result of this OK, at the background the system will generate a tree called ABC COA. Under this particular tree we need to define our chart of account. So if you want to define the chart of account one by one, then you would be able to add your node or add your account. We'll say add your node, so you would be able to see here. You can define the node code, name, the account type, and by default it would be summary level. That means it is going to be a certain folder, and then under that you would be able to define the add account. So I'm not going to do in this way, otherwise it would take long time to generate a chart of account, since the chart of account can have more than many ledger codes based on to the size of the organization. So instead of this, what I'm going to do is to import this chart of account. Now, if I will come here and say ABC chart of account and click and select the file, and I just need to move on to my file and say and say account US and say OK and OK. So there might be a possibility we'll get this kind of error, but this error used to come when you do not have the Microsoft Access Engine installed at your server. To install the Microsoft Access Engine, and thereafter you would be able to import your charter account. So that's all for this video. In the next video, we'll showcase how to install this Microsoft Access Engine, and thereafter we'll re-import this charter account. So presently there is an error in this, but that error is because our Microsoft Access Engine is not available. So for this video, that is only the way, that is only the way how you would be able to quickly import the charter account. But just make sure that the Microsoft Access Engine is installed at the server side. So I hope you would be able to see how you can, import the chart of account into the VA system. And that's all for this video. Thank you a lot. Bye bye.
Hello VA users, welcome back, and today we'll see how to set up the currencies. Okay. So by default into the VA system, all the world currencies are available. We just need to enable all those currencies which we want to use for our organization or for our legal entities. So let's move on to and see what's basically the currency. Okay, a currency in the most specific sense is the money in any form when in use or circulation as a medium of exchange, specifically circulating banknotes and coins. Vienna Advantage maintains all possible world currencies in the system, and as per the requirement, customer can enable the currency in the system. So that is the currency. Let's move on to the system and we'll see how we can enable or disable the currencies. Okay, so let's move on to the system. Okay, so I'm at my ABC admin. Now you can see, and let's open the currency window. So what you need to do is to open the currency window. So here is the currencies. So you would be able to see all are the currencies available here. But all these currencies are not available into the drop down list. The reason behind? We haven't enabled all these currencies. If you can see here at the level of the price list, if I want to create a price list in some other currency, okay, and I would come here and you can see. Okay, so all these currencies are coming here. So it means there is a validation missing at that particular place, but normally it not used to be shown. So if it is not shown, then how you can enable and disable the currencies? Let me tell you that. You just need to log out and log in with your super user, okay, or to the system account. Now log in here and open the currencies here. Now if I want to use the AED as my currency, so what I need to do, I need to mark it as my currency as true, save here. Similarly, USD is the currency, is the my currency, then INR is going to be my currency. So I just need to link all these currencies, and then we just need to mark all these currencies as my currency. So in this way you would be able to enable or disable the currencies into the system. Okay, so once you have marked the currencies as my currency, then again move on to your login, and thereafter open the currencies window. Now, as I have mentioned that the currency is basically, I have enabled my currency as INR. Now, if I want to do a certain conversions, then I would be able to do the conversions here at the level of the currency rate, and I just click here. I need to select against which currency I just need to do the conversion. I'm selecting USD, and thereafter I just need to say it is valid from which date to which date, and then I would be able to define my multiply rate or the divide rate. So I think the divide rate here is 82 point something going on. So divide rate is this, the multiply rate is automatically calculated by the system,
As a result of this save event, if you can zoom to your USD account, and you would be able to see it gets automatically generated by the system, that 82.15. Okay. I think I have entered the multiply and the divided accurately. In case if there is any mistake, then you just need to reverse that order. You just need to do a certain transaction at your own, and you just verify this. Okay. So that is how you would be able to define the currency conversion rates on daily basis, or for the monthly you would be able to define the monthly basis. And here you just need to define which currency type you are utilizing. If you want to define some other currency types, you just need to zoom and click here as new record, and you would be able to define your new currency types. That's all in this video. We'll see you in some other video, and we'll showcase you some other setups into the system, and thereafter we'll do the business cases. Thanks a lot. Bye bye. Welcome back, guys. In today's session we are going to learn how to create the financial years into the systems, or the fiscal years into the VA system. So in this session today we are going to learn what's basically the financial year, how we can create the financial year into the VA system. So before moving into the system, let's understand what's basically the financial year is. So normally a financial year is a 12 periods basically, and these 12 periods can be of the calendar year or cannot be from the calendar year. It might be from a calendar year because some country follows the calendar year as a financial year. Like in US, it is going to be 1st of January till 31st of December. While in India, it is going to be 1st of April till 31st of March. Okay. So these are generally 12 periods, but it is not always necessary to have the financial year in such a form, but generally it would be followed in such a way. So a financial year or a fiscal year is a specific period of time that an organization uses for financial reporting and accounting purposes. It is typically a 12-month period, but may not necessarily align with the calendar year. The purpose of defining a financial year is to facilitate consistent and systematic financial reporting, budgeting, and planning within an organization. So this is basically the financial year. Now let's see how we can create a financial year into the VA system. So I'm going to log in with my ABC admin, and once you logged in, you just need to search your calendar year period control, or period. So there can be a different names based on to the version of the Vienna Advantage. Okay. So I'm searching calendar year period. So here is the window, calendar year period. By default, a calendar gets generated as a result of a Tenant process, and we need not to create multiple calendars, and we need to define the financial year under the calendar. Okay. Now this is the primary calendar. How do you identify it, whether it is a primary calendar or not? You need to zoom to the Tenant window, and from the Tenant window you can move on to the Tenant info, and at the level of the Tenant info you would be able to see that your calendar is a primary calendar, because whichever the calendar linked with the level of the Tenant is considered as a primary calendar. So it's a primary calendar. Now the two things, whether we need to create the different calendar or not. So you can create two different calendars. Only the difference is when you have an organization that works in a different region. Let's suppose if I have two legal entities, one is working here in India while the another one is working in US, and both follows a different financial year. In such a case, I can generate two different calendars, and these calendars can be binded with my legal entities. So let's create first the calendar. So if I want to create a new, I'm not going to create a new calendar. Instead, I'm going to create a year. So here by default, there is a year generated by the system, that is 2023. Now the legal entity that I have generated is of India. So our financial year is going to be 2023 to 2024, and calendar year is doing this. Then we need to move on to the period, since the period is already generated as a result of a tenant generation process. So I just need to update. To update it, I will say it is 15, 16, and 17. The period number should be the unique one. So I'm starting, my first period is from April, second is May, third is June, fourth is July, fifth is August, sixth is September, then 7th October, 8th November, 9th December, and then my 10th period is basically January, and that is going to be 24. So we just need to rename it as 24, make it 2024, 2024. So that's my 10th period. My 11th period is going to be February 24. So make it 2024, 2024. And my last period is going to be the March. Okay. So change it to 2024, 2024. Okay. Now, once my periods are generated, then it is important, if you want to need to make this change, and now you will be able to see I have 12 periods. Since this period gets generated automatically as a result of tenant generation process, and tenant generation process create your year or your periods from 1st of Jan to 31st of December. So the first period needs to be changed manually before delivering the site to the customer. Okay. Now this is all 12 periods generated by the system. Apart from that, if I want to open a period, then what I need to do, right now we are into the May month and I want to open the period. So you just need to click here and you need to open your period. So click onto the organization, select for which organization. By default everything is in star, so I will say okay. So my all 24 document base types are open now, and the user would be able to do the transactions for these document base types. Now the next is basically you want to define a certain non-business day. So it is again one of the very useful things. Let's say here in India, the Republic Day, you cannot do your business on Republic Day or Independence Day. So I would be able to define so that if somebody by mistake enters any entry into the system on Republic Day, then the system will not allow you to process such an entry, and in such a case a message would come. Okay, so I have 26/01/2024. Similarly, I can define Independence Day, that is 15th. So let's say Independence Day, that is 15/8/2023. So in such a way you would be able to define your non-business day. Okay, so that is how we can set up the year. Apart from that, if I want to create the next year, I just need to say new record 2024-2025. I need to select 224, save, and I just need to click process. Now need to select the starting month, that is April, say okay, and once you will click on OK button, the periods gets generated successfully, because in the background the system runs a certain process that generates your periods, and you would be able to see your periods. And here the period is starting from 1st of April till 25th, March 25th. Okay, 2025. So you would be able to see how easily the system created all this period and how easily we can maintain. And under each period you would be able to see your period controls, and these needs to be open whenever the period comes up, and the previous period you would be able to close if you don't want that somebody will do any kind of transaction or process any kind of transaction. Why? Either it would be of inventory or it would be from the accounting side. So all the controls there available at the financial year. Okay. Now, at the end, as I have mentioned, you can create the calendar. So if I want to generate a calendar for a certain organization, since I have a single organization, I'm not going to generate the calendar. But if you want to generate the calendar specific to a certain organization, you can do so. So you just need to enter the name of the calendar, then you can define the year, and you will process and generate the periods in such a way. Now, in such cases, at the level of the organization, what you need to do, at the level of the organization, as I have mentioned in my video, if you haven't gone through with the video, you can go and check the organization video, and at this particular level you would be able to define your calendar. Okay, so presently I do not have multiple calendars, so it is all well for us not to link anything here, and this is the way how you would be able to create the financial year into the EA system. Thanks a lot. Bye bye. Welcome back, guys, to my channel. In today's session, what we are going to discuss is the landing page overview of Vienna Advantage. We have already gone through, there are many components available onto the landing page, and on this landing page we need to understand each and every component, since all these components has their impact onto the system. The main landing page of Vienna Advantage is categorized into three categories. One is basically the notification pane, the second one is the follow-up pane, and the third one is shortcut pane. Okay, or you can say these are three different panes. One is left pane, right pane, and the center line pane. Apart from that, there are many other things that are available into the Vienna Advantage that we need to understand. So in this video, we are going to see what are all the main components of the Vienna Advantage landing page. Now, the Vienna Advantage home page or the landing page majorly categorized into three panes: notification pane, follow-up pane, shortcut pane. Now, the notification pane is the section that contains the detail of the login user along with the user specific notification like workflow approvals, request approvals, notices, calendar, appointments, my task, task assigned by me, KPIs, notes, and the DMS. While the follow-up pane area contains the details of the subscribed records, and the user can see the chat notification. That the notification comes to each other if certain record is subscribed, and you can understand in a business there is a purchase order, there is a sales order. All these are very important things for the business. And if I subscribe to certain sales order and I want to make sure that the delivery would happen on time on the sales order, then I can subscribe that sales order and can chat to the users who are dealing that particular sales order throughout the organization. So that's basically the follow-up pane. The next is the shortcut pane. The shortcut pane area further divided into two sections. One is the link, the other one is the favorites. The link section contains the shortcut like calendar, contacts, settings, business analytics, marketing, etc. The new shortcuts can be further defined in this section as per the requirement. The favorites contains the shortcut of the window, form, and reports. The user can define their favorites from the menu that are often used by the users. So that's basically the favorites. So these are all the major components of the landing page or the home page of the VA. Let's move on to the system and we'll see what are all these things. Okay, right now I'm at my landing page. You can see into the landing page there is three panes. One is the left pane, okay, that is the notification pane. The second one is the follow-up pane, okay, where you can subscribe a certain record and thereafter you can chat over that particular record to the various users within the organization. The last pane is basically the shortcut pane, which is further divided into links and the favorites. So the links, you would be able to see some shortcuts in terms of the links that can be further extended by the consultants. Onto the other side, the favorites would be user defined. If I belongs to a sales department and I often work onto the sales opportunities or to the leads, and I would be able to define my favorites as lead or a sales order. If I'm a purchase executive, then often I use purchase requisition and the purchase orders, the blanket purchase orders. I can define them as favorites in my login area. Okay. Now at the top you would be able to see the first is basically the menu, and this menu would be able to see all the components of the menu which are accessible to you. And this menu would be changed. Right now I logged in with the admin role, that's why I would be able to see all the components. While when the roles and the user settings are defined properly within the system, then this menu would be specific as per the role defined. If I belongs to the sales, then only the sales components I would be able to access. If I belongs to a purchase, and the purchase components can be accessible from the menu. Onto the other side, there is a eye icon that showcase some quick instances. I just want to see what's basically the credit limit of a business partner, what's the contact person, what's the phone number. I would be quickly able to see. So these are the quick info windows by which I would be able to access, and I can answer to somebody. So that is a useful thing. Apart from that, you would be able to see the date, and next it's basically the username which logged in into the system, and you would be able to see the image of the users at this particular section. This is the logout button, and then onto the left side, that is which user logged in, and thereafter you would be able to see few of the sections, where the first section says that it is a workflow activities. All the workflow approval you would be able to see in this section, and you would be able to approve or decline a certain workflow. Then the next one is the notices. The notices sent by the system using the workflow or using the alerts. You would be able to see all those notices at this particular section. Then we have the request management module, and from the request management module, if there is some sort of request came for the approval, you would be able to see in this particular section. Then onto the appointment, you would be able to see all your appointments based onto the calendar. The calendar is accessible to all the users. You would be able to generate the appointments. You will receive all the appointments in this particular section. Thereafter, you would be able to define your task using the My Task activity. By clicking on this plus icon, you would be able to define your new task for the users to whom you want to assign. You would be able to assign. Presently, I have ABC user. So in this way, you would be able to see, you would be able to enter the title of the task, what would be the result, the task, categories, okay, and thereafter the start date and end date, and to whom it would be assigned, what's the status, whether it is closed or not closed, what's the priority of this task. All this stuff you would be able to define in this particular section of the My Task. Then you would be able to see the task assigned by me. So you would be able to see here all the tasks which are assigned by you to the another users, or by the another users to you. You would be able to see here the task assignment by me section. Then you would be able to generate your journal notes for your references on daily basis. So that's one of the critical part here, since you need not to maintain all the diaries all the time, physical diaries, to write down your notes. You would be able to write down your notes using My Notes section. So here is the My Notes section. Thereafter, there are the certain KPIs, that is the key performance indicators, you would be able to define here based on to the data available. So we'll go through with all these details later on, how to define the key KPIs within the system. And the last section, presently it's not functional, that would be taken here for the approvals associated to the document management system, that's the DMS. So presently you would be able to see please install DMS module, but it is not functional presently. Okay, so that is the notification area. Now onto the follow-up area, as I have mentioned, that you would be able to subscribe a certain record. So probably on a certain window you might have the subscription button. Let's see the purchase order. Presently I do not have any data in this database, but if you have a certain purchase order, you would be able to define the purchase order. You would be able to subscribe a certain record. So there would be a subscription here. You would be able to see there is an icon called subscription. Presently it is not enabled in my database, so I will enable next time, and I will showcase you how to set up the follow-ups, how you can do the follow-ups against the transactions. So that's the follow-up area, and thereafter you would be able to see your links. You can open your calendar, the business analytics, the settings. You would be able to see all this stuff at this particular place. And again, one of the important part is the market. So Vienna is always binded with the market, and you would be able to download all your modules using the market. So and the shipment of a certain functionality is very easy using the market. Okay, so that's basically the market. And thereafter here is the favorite section. As I have mentioned, that if you belongs to a certain department, let's say I'm from the admin department who need to maintain all the masters. I just want to maintain the customer master, so I can click on these three links and I'll say add to favorites, and later on very quickly I would be able to open a particular window that is marked as favorites. So this is all the things that are available within the system into the landing page, and that's what's the overview of the landing page. I hope this video will help you to understand the landing page of the Vienna Advantage. Thank you. Bye bye.